Hello students! For your activity with me this week, we're going to be making inferences. So just as a reminder, an inference is using text details and what you already know to understand what you're reading. Now the reason we have you make inferences is because authors don't always give all the information in their writing. Sometimes it's up to you, the reader, to make inferences so that you can understand what's going on in the reading. So you probably already have somewhat of an idea of how to make inferences. We do it kind of naturally. So take a look at this picture real quick and just think, what is going on in this picture? Pause the video if you need to think about it for a minute. And if you're saying that a birthday party is going on in this picture, or the kid's celebrating his birthday, you're probably right. Now I want you to think, how did you figure that out? How did you know that a birthday party is going on in this? Pause if you need a moment to think. And if you said something like, well, there's candles and a cake and the kid's wearing a hat, those are generally things that you do at a birthday party. There you go. You just used information from your head, things you already know, combined it with things from this picture, and you made an inference to help you understand what's going on in the picture. So now we're going to try making inferences from reading actual paragraphs. So as I read the paragraph, I want you to either read out loud with me or follow along in your head. From the beginning right here, Pat was watching his neighbor's pets while she was out of town. Since it was a nice day and the pets were taken care of, Pat went for a walk outside. He ran into some friends and was out longer than he should have been. When he got back to the house, the bird was not in its cage. The cat sat in the corner with a feather in its mouth. "Oh no!" exclaimed Pat. So now, to make an inference from this, we're going to ask the question, why was the bird not in its cage? Now, to help us answer our question and make an inference, I have 4 steps that we're going to follow. The first step is ask yourself, what are you trying to understand? Are you trying to understand events, things that are happening in the text? Are you trying to understand emotions, like how the characters are feeling? Or are you trying to understand the setting, where the story is happening, where it's taking place? So the question was why the bird is not in its cage. That would be, I would say, an event. That's something we're not sure how it happened. So now, the second step is to look at relevant text details. So you might have to reread a little bit, think back to the text, and find stuff that would tell us why the bird would not be in its cage. So we know that Pat went for a walk, and before that, all the pets were taken care of. So at some point when he was on a walk, the bird got out of its cage. Now what else do we know? We know that the cat was in the corner when he got back with a feather in its mouth. That gives us a clue there. A feather is on a bird. We know where the bird might have gone. Now, the third step is to think about things that you know that are related, relevant things to the story. So there's a cat and a bird, we know that. Now I know that cats eat birds sometimes, and the cat in this had a feather in its mouth. So now the fourth step is to make an inference and think if it makes sense. So I'm going to make the inference and say that the bird is not in its cage because the cat ate it. And now, does that make sense? Well, in real life I know that birds can be eaten by cats, and since we know that the bird is not in its cage, that might be where it went. I would say that makes sense. We're going to do a second example from this same paragraph, and the question we're going to try to answer this time is, how is Pat feeling? So let's go back to our 4 steps. Step 1 is, what are you trying to understand? Events, emotions, or the setting? The question is, how is Pat feeling? That would be emotions. how one of the characters is feeling. So now step 2 is look at relevant text details. So let's look back at the paragraph and see what details we have. We know that Pat is watching his neighbor's pets while she's out of town, so he's responsible for that. We also know that at the end, when he got home, he said, "Oh no." That was after he saw that the cat was in the corner with a feather in its mouth. So those are about the only relevant text details there. So step 3 now, we need to think about things that you know that are related. So if you're watching someone's pets for them, the person probably trusts you. And we now know that the cat ate the bird, and Pat said, "Oh no." Now, if one of the pets is missing for his neighbor might be a little mad. Think about how you would feel if you were in that situation. Would you be worried that you're going to get in trouble with your neighbor? So that's things that are related that you already know and that I already know. So now step 4 is make an inference and think if it makes sense. So I'm going to make the inference that Pat is worried. He's scared he's going to get in trouble when his neighbor gets home and knows that his bird has been eaten. So now, does that make sense? Think about what you know already and what we've read in the paragraph. I would say that makes sense, yes. We're going to read one more paragraph now and make a couple more inferences from it. So again, I want you to read out loud with me or follow along in your head. From the beginning right here. Martin's little brother looked at the new bike a bit apprehensively. "Are you sure I won't get hurt?" he asked Martin. Martin replied, "Oh, you might fall once or twice, but you'll be okay. Just wear your helmet." Martin's little brother looked up at him. "And you will hold on to it so it doesn't fall over." Martin nodded. So the question we're going to ask to make an inference this time is, what is Martin doing with his little brother? So we're going to go through the 4 steps again. You're going to answer with me. Pause throughout if you need more time to think. So first step, what are you trying to understand? Are we trying to understand events, emotions, or the setting? Again, the question is, what is Martin doing with his little brother? I'd say we are trying to understand the events, what's going on, what are the characters doing with each other. Step 2 now is look at relevant text details. So let's kind of reread, glance through the text again to find relevant text details. So we know right at the beginning that there's a new bike involved. Okay, let's keep glancing over, read in your head. Okay, so Martin's saying he might fall over once or twice. Probably saying he might fall off of the bike. Okay, let's keep going. Martin says, "Just wear your helmet." So a helmet helps you keep from falling off or getting hurt when you fall off a bike. Okay. And Martin's little brother is also saying, "You will hold on to it so it doesn't fall over." So probably saying, "Will you hold on to the bike?" And Martin nodded. Okay, those are the relevant text details. Step 3, think about things you know that are related. So think about when you've been around bikes. You wear a helmet. Have you ever been around a bike and asked someone to hold on to it? Why would you ask someone to hold on to it? All right, step 4 is to make an inference and think if it makes sense. So pause if you need a moment to process your thoughts and make an inference. Okay, hopefully you're coming back from pausing. The inference that I'm going to make is that Martin is helping his little brother learn how to ride a bike. Now let's see if that makes sense. If you got something different, see if yours makes sense as well. I would say it makes sense because there's the helmet, there's the new bike, and Martin's little brother's asking him to hold on to it. Generally, you'd ask someone to hold on to your bike when you're learning how to ride it because you're afraid of falling over. We're going to ask one more question to make an inference from this, and the question is, how is the little brother feeling in this paragraph? So let's go through the 4 steps again together. You answer with me. Pause if you need to. Step 1, what are you trying to understand? Events, emotions, or the setting? Again, the question is, how is the little brother feeling? What do you think that is? If you said emotions, you're right. Step 2, look at relevant text details. So let's glance through the text again, reread the parts we need to. And since it's the little brother, let's look at what the little brother is saying. So right here at the beginning, the little brother is talking. He says, "Are you sure I won't get hurt?" That's one thing the little brother says. Let's see what else the little brother says. Okay, right here the little brother's talking. Martin's little brother looked up at him, and you will hold on to it so it doesn't fall over. He's asking that as a question. So that's it for what Martin's little brother said. So now, step 3. Think about things you know that are related. So first let's think about why would Martin be asking these questions like, "Are you sure I won't get hurt?" Why would a person ask that? Are they nervous? Okay, what about, "And you will hold on to it so it doesn't fall over"? Again, why would the little brother ask that as he's learning how to ride the bike? Again, is he worried he's going to get hurt? Or is he not worried at all? Think to yourself about that. And let's move on to step 4. Make an inference and think if it makes sense. So pause the video if you need to. Make your inference. Okay, my inference, to answer the question how the little brother is feeling, I think the little brother is very worried he's going to get hurt. Now, the other part of step 4 was to see if that makes sense. Think about your answer or my answer and why it makes sense, if it does. Okay, I would say that my answer makes sense because a person asks those kind of questions if they're worried about something. And since he's learning how to ride a bike, it's something he's never done before, he's going to be worried. Everyone gets worried when they do new things. Now, just some directions for the Google form to go along with this. You're going to have to read each paragraph, and each paragraph will have 2 questions to help you make an inference. And you have to explain how you got your inference. So to do that, you're going to use these sentence stems to help you type your answers. So you'll say, "My inference is blank." That's where you answer the questions. And then it's going to say, "How do you know?" So to answer how you know, you say, "I think that because the text says blank." Tell us what the text says, and also tell us what you're thinking, the stuff you already know. So those directions are also on the Google form. Read them there if you need a reminder.